Thank you so much for attending my presentation about why Mega Victreebel is the perfect trap, and first, I must admit, my first impressions on this Pokemon were very negative. Mega Victreebel's stats are not terrible, but for a Mega, it leaves a lot to be desired. 80, 85, 90 defenses are just fine, and while it does hit the very nice special attack of 135, it's still not very well equipped to take advantage with a low speed stat. However, as with all good Pokemon, a strong ability can save it. Mega Victreebel, though, got innards out, an ability believed to be absolutely abysmal by everybody including myself. This ability, when the user faints, deals however much damage they received back to the attacker. For example, if Mega Victreebel was at 50 HP and got knocked out by a flamethrower, the attacker would take 50 HP of damage themselves. This ability is not good. Historically, the only Pokemon with it, Pyukumuku, has been terrible, and even though Mega Victreebel does have better stats, there's no way it would work, right? Well, before we talk more about my favorite bag of acid, let's look at what Regulation MA actually is. The format right now is being dominated by Megas, whose extreme power compared to anything else is very apparent. The lack of offensive items is a major catalyst for this, as the Choice Specs, Choice Band, and Life Orb are all removed from the game. Where some regular Pokemon might normally be able to match a Mega in power with a Life Orb, it can't do that in Champions. These Megas are oftentimes very powerful special attackers who have very high stats and click huge moves that very little can handle. These include the Megas Charizard Y, Gengar, Frostlass, Floette, Dragonite, Delphox, and to a lesser extent Glimmora, Meganium, Blastoise, and Gardevoir. There are some powerful physical attacking Megas, but they are significantly less common. The physical attackers are much more common in a team's non-Mega core, with Sneasler, Garchomp, Aerodactyl, Kingambit, and Incineroar all getting a bunch of usage. Many of the best teams are centered around one very powerful special attacker with the support of 3 or 4 physical attackers. So with this information, how is Mega Victreebel usable? All of Mega Victreebel's viability comes in its ability to either deter big special attackers from clicking their big moves in the first place or trade knockouts with them. If you were paying really close attention when I listed all of the special Megas, you may have noticed that most of them either hit Victreebel for insane super effective damage or struggle to do much at all. Charizard Y, Frostlass, Dragonite, Delphox, and Gardevoir all completely dump on it, which sounds good for them, but remember, Mega Victreebel dying to these threats is often a net positive as its HP stat is high enough to kill them back with innards out damage. This means that, for most of them, they can't click their best button without losing their best Pokemon. Charizard Y wants to click Heat Wave, you better be okay with losing your strongest attacker for the rest of the battle. Other Megas, like Floette and Meganium, take super effective damage from Sludge Bomb and need a lot of support to get around Victreebel. This all forces opponents to either chip Mega Victreebel down slowly so they don't die from recoil, or knock it out in one hit with something less valuable, both of which are hard to do. You can absolutely take it down slowly, but it often requires you double into it, which is very risky, as Victreebel's partner is left free to do whatever it wants. And killing it fast with a non-Mega is very hard to do. The only other guys that are a real threat are Basculegion after a few teammates have fainted, Rotom's Frost and Heat, Corviknight, sometimes Incineroar, and Pelipper, and with some decent team building, you can make these problems much easier to handle. This is where Mega Victreebel thrives, creating game states where you're unable to knock it out without losing an insane amount of resources, but simultaneously can't leave it alive without taking too much damage. So what set do you run? Your attacking moves are pretty simple, but are what makes this whole thing possible. The point of Mega Victreebel is, as stated prior, that your opponent both has to knock it out and also has to exhaust a lot of resources to do so. Sludge Bomb and Energy Ball are two great moves that hit most things for very solid damage and force your opponent to make difficult choices. As much as it hurts, you have to actually deal with Mega Victreebel. It's very rare that you can just ignore it. Strength Sap exemplifies this. Remember how most Pokemon right now are physical except for the Megas? Well, by using Strength Sap, you can not only heal, rearming the trap in the process, but also make it difficult for Victreebel to be knocked out physically. This can force your opponent to actually kill you with a Mega, which loses it for the rest of the game. Then, of course, Protect is huge for positioning and baiting attacks into it. Managing your HP is extremely important, as even something like Fake Out Chip can make some innards out knockouts impossible. Plus, while there is a lot of value in dying, there's also a lot of value in protecting against big double attacks to let your partner do whatever. For EVs, it's actually important that your special defense is very low, as to always die to Mega Frostlass Blizzard and Mega Dragonite's Hurricane, but after that you can just put a bunch of investment into both HP and defense to keep it alive while maxing special attack. This actually means that, in my opinion, you should be running a minus special defense nature, which sounds insane but lets you consistently faint. Then if you run 24 HP EVs, you can kill them back except for very bulky Dragonites. In conclusion, Mega Victreebel isn't as bad as people might say. Its access to strong attacking moves and the innards out ability gives it some very powerful tools that it can use to win games at higher ranks. While this is a gimmick and it does have weaknesses, I definitely don't think it's unviable. If you want to try out a team, here's a rental of what I've been running recently to pretty decent success. To put it briefly, its teammates are built to handle Mega Gengar, Archaludon, and King Gambit, which all give Mega Victreebel a lot of trouble. Let me know how it goes if you give it a shot, and thank you so much for watching.